I miss artists like Public Enemy, who made Fight the Power, who made Rebel Without Pause, who made Don't Believe the Hype. Artists that made music that reflected the times that we were living in, with songs that really spoke with true intellect and intelligence on what was happening in the community and the need for change. It spoke on drug addiction, the issue with the police in the black community. They spoke on a time that really stands in history, a time that we can't forget. That artistry cannot be erased. Also miss artists like Tupac. Okay, yeah, Tupac made Hit 'Em Up. But he also made Dear Mama. Okay, so he did make the song I Get Around, which was a derogatory song about women. But he also gave us songs like Brenda Has a Baby. He also gave us Keep Your Head Up, which was songs that motivated and inspired people, that really gave the mainstream a true sight into what was going on in the black community. What about Can You Get Away, where he spoke about domestic violence? Okay, so yeah, you might say Tupac was also part of the reason of the East Coast West Coast beef. You could say he was very contradictory. He's very volatile. That he was smart, but also showed times that maybe he's not so intelligent or make intelligent statements. Tupac was an artist that we never really appreciated until after he was gone. But he also represented what society is, didn't he? Aren't we a society, members of society? Aren't we contradictive? Aren't we at times volatile? Aren't sometimes we speak with intelligence and great intellect, but also speak with ignorance and perform with that same ignorance? Maybe Tupac was just a reflection of what society is and was. But without further ado, let's get into today's subject. Welcome to the Past to Present podcast. I'm your host, Alan the Great. I want to thank you for joining me for another week, another show. Wherever you're watching the show at, whether you're in the laundromat, at your home, your car, you're at your job hiding, watching the show, wherever you are, thank you for inviting me into your home, your car, and at your job. Don't worry, if you're at your job, I'm not going to tell your boss that you're watching my show. We'll keep that between me and you, all right? We'll keep that on the low. If you're at the laundromat, make sure you check your dryer and your clothes ain't cooking, okay? Don't get too distracted with the show. But let's get right into it. So Kanye West, he's back again. After his statement that, or his comment that slavery was a choice, he's back again, supporting Donald Trump even stronger than ever. Representing that MAGA hat even better than ever. But his derogatory statements bringing truth and light to a situation that needs to change in America? Or is he continuing to speak rhetoric and ignorance that's only going to hurt and affect the community that his music supposedly represents? Let's talk about it, people. Let's talk about it. So Kanye West made waves when he talked about how slavery was a choice. Now, I don't know what history book Kanye West read, but in the ones I read and all the history I studied, there was no cruise ship that went into Africa giving out flyers, asking people, hey, come on, jump on a ship and sail on to America, where you will be separated from your kids, your wife, beaten, women will be raped, and you'll work for free labor for over 100 years. I didn't see that memo, but maybe he heard it or somebody told him somewhere. Needless to say, after that, Kanye West went back home to Chicago to a morning radio show to share his thoughts on it and recant his statement. He also gave a heartfelt apology that was so strong that the female radio host was brought to tears. Was brought to tears by his sincere apology and making a mistake of representing the black community how he did. So let's fast forward to current times, because now let's get to present times. Kanye West, this past week, went on to SNL. He was on to perform some of his new music off his upcoming album, but chose to bring on his artists from his label, Kid Cudi, as well as Tiana Taylor, to perform. So though he was supposed to spend a 3-minute clip in doing his song, he went way overboard and brought on other artists to perform as well. But he didn't stop there. Kanye West felt like he was being bullied behind stage and wanted to speak up about his bromance, his love relationship with our current president, Donald Trump. He felt he was being bullied and silenced, that his freedom of thinking was being challenged and put in jeopardy. So Kanye West used SNL Stage and the holding the capture against their own will, in a way, the audience and the staff members of SNL to speak his truth about Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump, maybe Kanye West is caught up in Donald Trump allure. Now, we recently heard Omarosa come on to multiple media outlets and talk about how Donald Trump allure was so strong, how he was so majestic that she kind of got caught up in a lot of things he was doing and a lot of rhetoric he was doing. And despite people saying how bad he was for the country, she couldn't see it because all she seen was the good for Donald Trump. Maybe it's the same problem Kanye West is dealing with. Maybe Donald Trump's light is shining so bright that he can't truly see what's happening in front of him and all the actions and all the things that Donald Trump is provoking. Kanye West continues to speak out about Donald Trump, sporting the MAGA hat proudly. What is the MAGA hat, you ask? Make America Great Again. It stands for Make America Great Again, which is Donald Trump's campaign statement in which he continues to promote throughout his reign of presidency. Now, when we talk about Make America Great Again, we got to dive quickly into history. And I get it, y'all don't want to talk about history, so we just going to dive quickly into it. What are we going back to? Coal factories? Maybe we're going back to slavery. Maybe going back to when black people were slaves. What are we truly going back to? Racism? Maybe we're going back to the Boston Tea Party when England truly controlled America. I don't know what America being great again he's going back to. Maybe he's going back to the time where most of things that were made and sold in America were made in America. But we'll talk about that in a second. Just trust me, we'll get to that. So Donald Trump and Kanye West bromance continues on. But not only does that continue on, and Kanye West didn't stop by giving a rant at SNL. He also chose to go to Twitter, one of our current president's favorite social media sites. And he spoke on abolishing the 13th Amendment. But you don't know what the 13th Amendment is. It was the amendment that was wrote into law to abolish slavery. That's right, it abolished slavery, which caused slavery to not exist in this country no more. However, you need to read the fine print, people. Because what it does say is, yes, it abolishes slavery and acts of slavery throughout America. But if you're convicted of a crime, then technically, under the 13th Amendment, you lose that right and you can be treated and work as a slave. And you don't have protection against being a slave if you're convicted of a crime. So Kanye West said he wanted to abolish the 13th Amendment. Now he later on recanted his statement and said that he spoke wrong. Maybe he used the wrong words when he said abolish. What he meant was you need to revise the 13th Amendment. Now he wants to revise the 13th Amendment to get rid of slavery happening in prison. And this is the same guy that spoke about, that did the song New Slaves. Same guy did New Slaves, because we're talking about music he made, where he talked about privately owned prisons and the need for separation of them. As Kanye West spoke on privately owned prisons, he spoke on the need to abolish or to revise the 13th Amendment. One of the things Kanye West needs to think about is this. Donald Trump is a strong supporter of putting people in prison. But not just regular people, because just think about this for a second. For facts, nine violent crimes are on a sharp decline. Now, most of us living in urban neighborhoods or bad neighborhoods probably argue against that with all the shootings, drive-bys, and murders that we continue to see. But despite what you see on the news and throughout media sites, the truth is violent crimes are actually on decline and have been on decline, which means a lot less violent criminals are being put in jail. But that's not stopping people from being put in jail, and it's not putting a dent into these people who own and invest in privately owned prisons. Why is it not stopping them from making money? Why are they not losing money in this investment into privately owned prisons? One simple reason: immigration. Immigrants who are illegally in this country, due to Donald Trump, new law, and what he's champion is, being picked up by ICE. ICE is the immigration police. They're picking up immigrants and they're putting them in jail at an alarming rate. In fact, immigration arrests are up 43% since Donald Trump has been elected into office. So when you take these immigrants and you put them in these privately owned prisons, what you're doing is you're truly giving free labor. Now we talk about free labor and we talk about Donald Trump wants to make America great again. Because we want products that's made in America. We're tired of buying stuff that's made in China, you know? But we understand why things are being made in China. I mean, we truly understand if we're going to talk about it from a financial or business standpoint. Truth of the matter is, it's cheaper to make things in China. Labor is cheaper because there's no labor laws. So a lot of sneakers we like our Nikes, we like our Jordans, we like our t-shirts and stuff, and a lot of this stuff is made in China. And there's lower labor laws, there's lower cost. There's lower cost to make these products. So Donald Trump is saying, look, we're going to bring these products back to America. Now let's speak on some of the products that's made in America. We're speaking on prison reform, and we're speaking on bringing products back, made in America. So let me ask you a question, people. Let's do a little Q&A. Did you know that until recently that a lot of those bras women that you were buying from Victoria's Secret, that nice lingerie that you were buying, were being made in prison by prisoners? Did you know that? Yeah, that Victoria bra you got on right now, or that nice lingerie you wearing for your husband, your boyfriend, or whoever your significant other is, we're not judging. Whatever that lingerie you bought, did you know that that was sewn and made in prisons? Yeah, they got that made in USA little tag on it, but did you know it was made in prison? Ah, of course you did. Nah. What about them jeans you bought from JCPenney? Did you know that was made in prison too? Oh, you seen was it was made in America. But you didn't ask where it was made. Maybe you thought it was made in Tennessee in a farm factory somewhere. Nah, it was made in prison. Sold and made in prison. A lot of products we used to buy from Walmart and other retail shops, did you know they were also made in prison? Did you know that once that Microsoft, those mouse you used to use on your keyboard that you might be using right now to watch the show, that software that you use probably to watch the show right now, was once packaged in prison? Yeah, made and packaged in prison. Based off free labor, but it wasn't free. They were making, what, 8 cents an hour? That's not bad. 8 cents an hour is not bad. You try living off 8 cents an hour and tell me how bad that is. So we talk about Make America Great Again. We talk about making made in USA. Truth of the matter is, what Made USA used to represent, it may still represents, is products that are truly made in prison off of free labor, which is slavery. But you gotta ask, when we talk about the public enemies in the Tupac Shakurs and these rap artists and the intellect and their intelligence and knowing what affects the community, but also having the message and understanding what that message stands for, you gotta ask yourself, is Kanye West truly privileged his information? Yeah, he spoke on privately owned prisons, but did he know that a lot of products that were sold and made in America were truly made off of slave labor? Do we know that? I don't know. Hit me up, past2presentpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know, what do you think? Hit me up on Facebook, Past Present, or on Instagram, Alan the Great. Let me know what you think, or even comment below. What you think? Do you think Kanye West even knows of this? You think he has any idea? So when he's wearing a MAGA hat talking about Make America Great Again, but also talking about we need to change the 13th Amendment, what is he truly talking about? Because now we're looking at a contradictory situation here. Because our current president is talking about bringing back things made in USA, but let's think about this. Is companies truly going to be able to afford the labor to make things in USA? And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but what is our current president truly talking about when he's talking about making things in USA? Is he talking about things being made in these privately owned prisons off of free slave labor? Or is he talking about giving the working people their jobs back? Paying more for products because the products are going to go up because the labor is going to go up. I mean, let's go have a conversation about it. Ask yourself, what does it truly mean? But we're going still farther than that. Because privately owned prisons is a huge thing right now. Like I said, a lot of people from the 90s that got drug convictions were subjected to the Kingpin Law. For all you that don't know what the Kingpin Law is, it was a law made in the war against drugs, where if you had a certain amount of grams of drugs and you were convicted of drug trafficking, a certain amount of grams, you were forced to spend life in prison. So it didn't matter if you was 18 years old. You were forced to spend life in prison without the eligibility of parole. So you got a lot of people who are still sitting in prison for non-violent crimes. So maybe education in prison. So I mean, you go to prison, maybe you get education, right? Okay, you got non-violent crime, you get education in prison, right? So maybe prison's not too bad because you get education. But what kind of education you truly get? And what do you truly can use with that education when you get in prison? Because think about this for a second. I told you all getting 2 for 1, so we're going to speak about prison real quick. Real quick, we'll get right back on Kanye West. So think about this when you go in prison. When you get out, if you got a felony, A, there's not many places you can get a job at. I did the research. I did a research on where you can get a job once you're released from prison. Most of the places you get in is local hardware stores. I'm not talking about Home Depot or Lowe's. You may get at Ace, which is most of the time, Ace Hardware is a local, small hardware store. You may get to work at a restaurant. Maybe you can be a busboy. Maybe you can work at one of these warehouses making a low-budget minimum wage job. The fact of the matter is, once you get a felony, then the true idea of making anything above minimum wage is non-existent. Is non-existent. So despite the education you're getting from prison, it's useless once you get into the world because companies are not truly going to pay you what you truly deserve based on your education, and doors are not going to open. And some people say, well, they shouldn't get an education in prison. You're in prison to be punished. That's true, but what is the name of prisons? They call them correctional facilities. So correctional facilities are not just there to punish a person, but to correct a person's behavior. Because a person made a mistake, you're going somewhere to be corrected. So when you're admitted back into society, you're admitted back to society as a person who's going to perform as such, as we expect you to, like a normal person in society. However, when you go to prison, you're put in a lot of times isolated situations or in volatile situations that change your mindset. So even if you wasn't a violent offender, the need to feel like you have to survive in this place, the treatment of being treated like an animal, a caged animal, can change your mindset, your thought process. So in reality is, you're not going to a correctional facility. You're going to a prison, and you're coming out with a prisoner mindset. So it's not unlikely that most people who are sent to prison are returning back to prison, despite the education that you're feeling like getting, or they shouldn't have. And that's another debate we can have. Should prisoners get education or not? I mean, reality is, what's the point? A lot of times you're taught things that you can learn on your own. I mean, with YouTube right now, if you're taught to do carpentry or plumbing work, I mean, truly you can learn that on your own. You can get on YouTube and learn how to unclog a toilet or put pipes down or even do wiring. A lot of things that you will learn even when you're in prison, you can learn on your own. So what are you truly using? And how truly beneficial can that education be when as soon as you write down felon on your application, you can't get the job? You're treated like a pariah once you get outside. So correctional facilities are not correctional. So maybe that's what Kanye West is speaking about. He clearly has the president's ear and his attention. And they clearly have a great romance together. So maybe that's what truly Kanye West is standing for. Of course, I don't think so. But we all can hope, right? We can wish. So let's move on. One of the other things Kanye West tried to do was he tried to arrange a meeting between former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick and Donald Trump. Now, let's be cynical for a second. Maybe Kanye West is trying to bridge the gap between the president and the NFL players. We all know about the protests. We all know about the protests that's been going on. We know about the cause and the ripple effect of the protests. We know about how people are split between feeling like it's disrespecting the military, and the other side is against the narrative and speaking about how the police department are killing unarmed black people. So maybe Kanye West is trying to be an olive branch to bring these two together. To bring together the same president who said that NFL players who choose to do this protest should be fired. Same president that called them SOBs. Now he wants to put them in a room together. The same president that uses opportunities to meet with celebrities as a photo op. What could possibly good come out of a conversation between Donald Trump and Colin Kaepernick? Is a conversation truly necessary? Should we even want to sit at the table with a person who has a mindset as a Donald Trump or has a negative mindset towards the protests and NFL protests or a protest against equal rights? If you ask me, then absolutely. A lot of times what we do is we avoid taboo subjects. We avoid talking to or about certain things. Think about this for a second. Listen, a lot of people, if I ask you right now who you vote for or who you going to vote for, you ain't going to tell me. Because let me tell you something. Two things that cause issue. If you talk about politics, one, two things is going to happen. If I come to somebody to talk about politics, one, two things going to happen. One, three things. One, you're either going to argue with me. Two, we're going to end up fighting. Or three, you're just going to walk away like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Because anytime you talk about politics with somebody, they don't want to talk about it or they're ready to fight you. The other thing is you try to talk to somebody about religion. That's another thing that causes fights. Somebody walk away or a serious argument. Those are very taboo subjects that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to have conversations that make them uncomfortable. We talk about that all the time. We're going to change the show name to the Taboo Show because the reality is a lot of people don't want to talk about it. So should Donald Trump and Colin Kaepernick talk? No. Now, we agree that there should be a conversation. There should be dialogue. But the reality is, what do we know about Donald Trump? We know that he has a strong stance against the NFL protests. We notice that he's not going to falter from his stance. So the only good that can come out of a conversation between Donald Trump and Colin Kaepernick is this. Is a simple photo op where Donald Trump can use it as propaganda to support his stance and can possibly win some of the black community that he feels like he lost. But dialogue is also a good thing. So I agree that Donald Trump should speak to someone from the black community, speak to someone, but I don't think he should speak directly to Colin Kaepernick. And if he does going to speak to him, what kind of mindset are you truly walking into that conversation with? I agree that dialogue is very necessary. In order for change to happen, we got to stop avoiding the tough, difficult conversations and join in. We got to stop walking away from the table and walk to the table. And sit down and stand for what we have and what we believe in and what we want. One of the problems is black people and just society in a whole, one of the issues why we don't experience the change that we want is because a lot of times we become complacent with something somebody gives us. So we come to the fight with all the energy and the vigor in the world. We're ready. We have our stance, we have what we want, and we walk up to the table with all this vigor in us, and we're ready to go. We're ready to fight for what we want. But when we leave, we're complacent with what they chose to give us. Oh, you're not hearing me. Oh, you're not hearing me. People, you're not hearing me right now. I'm telling you, you're not hearing me. Understand something. I'm going to break it down to you. I'm going to get real controversial for a second. Get real controversial. We think about the civil rights movement. Yes, the civil rights movement made a huge change. It gave us segregation. It gave us the end of segregation. It gave us freedom for our children to go to school. It gave us so many freedoms in this country, but there's so much we're still fighting against. There's so much we still need to gain. There's so much ground that still need to be given. But where is the fight for continuance on civil rights? Oh, you're not hearing me. Okay, keep going. Let me keep going. Think about this for a second. Mike Brown got killed. Trayvon Martin got killed. Sandra Bland got killed. There was protests in the streets. There was people speaking out. There was the Black Lives Movement. People were angry, upset about it. There was protests in Ferguson. There was a strong movement for change. Now, answer this question to me, people. How much change has happened? Do you, as a black people, I'm speaking directly to black people and Caucasian, any other race that's sitting out there watching, please don't turn it off. Just tune in and stay in with us. But as black people, let me speak to you for a second. Do you feel any less threatened by the police today than you did when these protests began? Because I know I don't. I still feel equally as threatened. I still feel like there's an issue and there's a divide between the black community and the police department. I still feel that anytime a police officer pulled me over, that my life is in jeopardy, regardless of how I act, how I speak, or what I choose to do. But I also feel like we spoke about it and we marched towards this issue, but we didn't see it all the way through. We didn't resolve the issue yet because as much as we spoke about it, as much as we stood up about it, we still have not come up with a resolution. Have we become complacent? See, one of my greatest fears is not so much as being shot by a police officer, but if I'm going to be real about it, one of my biggest fears is that it's going to become normalized. Think about this for a second, people. So I'm not losing you. Just think about this for a second. We're still talking about the same subject, by the way. Think about this for a second. When a lot of people say, well, you don't get upset, you don't protest about all the murders in the black community, think about why we don't do that. Let me put it in context of why we don't protest and get upset when another black person kills a black person. It's because it became so normal to us. It became so normal that we're used to it. So when it happens, we're kind of conditioned to just be used to it. It's just like we're numb to it. And my fear is if this continues to happen with the police department in the black community, that we as people are going to become numb to this. We're going to condition to make this as a normal thing where we don't even react to it no more. And it's going to open the floodgates for this to continue to happen, and our children are going to continue to be put in danger. our mothers, our brothers, our sisters, our fathers are going to continue to be put in danger, and there will not be a change because we became complacent to this. We gave up the fight too early without achieving much ground. We have to stop settling. But I'm going all the way off subject because you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me about how complacent we have to stop being. So let me get back on subject. Let me get back on Kanye West. Kanye West had a song called Power, where he said, no one man should have all this power. And it got me thinking. Got me thinking for a second. So how the hell did Kanye West get all this power? Who gave him all this power? Who gave him the power to represent and speak for the whole entire black community? Who gave him the power of celebrity? Then I start thinking, how did Martin Luther King get so much power? And I'm not comparing Martin Luther King to Kanye West. I'm just going off to just thinking. Just got me thinking. How did Martin Luther King get so much power? How did our current president get so much power? How did every other president get power? How did Malcolm X get power? How does all these people who give authority and have authority over us get power? How do all these people get power? How does your boss get so much power? Without you, without supporters, without someone beneath you, you cannot have power. Without numbers of support, you cannot have power. Kanye West has the power he has as an artist by the supporters who buy his music, listen to his music, and continue to support his music. Martin Luther King was given so much power by all the people who believed in his message and stood behind his message for change. That's what truly gave him power. Whoever the president is given power by the people who live in this country, that vote, that make up this country. That's where that power comes from. So reality is when you're asking yourself how this one man got power, what you should be asking yourself, how did we as people be so limited power? When did we become so weak that our voice became so weak that we use one person to speak over top of the many of us? For the millions of us become weaker than one person, the millions of us voices become lighter than one person, that one person's voice speaks louder than all of us? What if we all stood in solidarity to speak? What if we took back and we not made America great again, but made America great for all people? What if we fought back against immigration? But I'm going to get to that another subject. We're not even going to talk about immigration right now, but we're going to talk about that another subject. But what if we spoke up about what truly this country is made of? Give me your rich, give me your poor, give me your tired. That's just part of what's on the Statue of Liberty. Think about this for a second when we talk about immigration. We'll get to another subject. This country's built on immigrants. Okay, you talk about people go back to Africa, the same as telling Caucasians go back to Europe. Asians go back to Asia. People from the Middle East go back to the Middle East. We're all built on immigrants. But this country's supposed to be built on love, pride, faith, and patriotic. But what's less patriotic than not truly standing up for what you choose to believe in? To fight back against evil. Because that's what's being spread. We don't need to make America great again. We need to make America finally great. Kanye West, it's not about having freedom of thought. It's not about just thinking the way the Democrats want you to think or the way Republicans want you to think. It's about really coming up and conjuring a true identity and understanding what's going on in the world. It's speaking up about change that's going to benefit not just you or just a certain group of people, but a solution that's going to support and help and benefit all people. That's what truly freedom of thought is. Freedom of thought is not walking the line because everybody's walking the line. Not turning your back because everybody's turning your back, but having the ability, the strength, the courage to stand up for something even though you know what's wrong, even though the tide is coming against you, to go against the wave. That's what the truth is. Nobody's trying to bully you for speaking about your love relationship with Donald Trump. What they're trying to do is they're trying to protect you, because one thing Kanye West is showing is he's not capable of dealing with the backlash of what's going to come for speaking the diatribe that he's speaking. He's not going to be able to deal with it. I know I'm going over and I'm about to end this soon, but this is the reality, people. This is the reality. We do need prison reform. We do need prison reform. We do need to remember what correctional facility means. It means to correct the behavior of people and give them a second chance, because that's what America's about, giving people a second chance. We do need to fight back against racism. We do need to educate people. We do need to have conversations, but we don't need to create opportunities where people are going to use these conversations as photo ops. We do need change in America. We do need a lot of things. We need people speaking up, but we also need to understand the strength in numbers and the power that our voice have. Instead of keep focusing on the power in somebody else's voice, at some point we're going to have to step back and remember the power we have in our voices and let our voices be heard. Speak up, whether it's through voting, whether it's through your social media sites, not being petty, not antagonizing somebody or disrespecting somebody, but speaking the truth, speaking up against change and to benefit people. It's time for us to stop being ignorant and start being educated. People in other countries in this country were killed, murdered, beaten, tortured for the smallest, minute levels of education, for learning how to read, speak, and write. But we choose to continue to hide from education, run from it, because the truth makes us feel uncomfortable. Kanye West, I don't know what your truth is, but I know what the truth is that we don't need to make America great again. We need to finally make America great. And we need change. And change is not going to happen overnight, but change is going to happen with us as individuals. We need to take prisons and turn them from being prisons to truly correctional facilities that rehabilitate the people who are committing these crimes, putting them back in society. We do need to bring jobs back to America, but we also need to make sure that these jobs benefit Americans and not slave labor. I want to thank you for joining me again for the Past to Present podcast. I'm your host, Alan Great. As we started with this, please subscribe, like, comment. Let me know what you think about the video. Hit the comment box. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can always inbox me through my Facebook page, Past Present at Facebook. You can email me directly, past2present at podcast@gmail.com. Sorry. You can also hit me up on Instagram, Alan the Great on Instagram. Subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you for being here with me. Like I told you, I'm not going to tell your boss that you was like sneaking off to the bathroom watching my show. And until next week, all I got left to say to you is stay tuned.